Hey look, it's a boy wonder with assisted breathing. Here's a look at the brand new McFarlane Toys, Batman the Classic TV series, Oxygen Mask Robin. Kapow! The debonair millionaire Bruce Wayne may seem like your average cool cat, but you'd be wrong. With a flip of a Shakespeare head bust into the Batcave he goes. Gotham City is filled with a rogues gallery of criminals eager to unmask the Batman, but they are thwarted by the Cape Crusader's own clever ways. Robin seems to be getting help with his respiratory, and before we get a closer look at the figure, I'd like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys, who did provide this sample of Robin with Oxygen Mask. We can have a look at this review. I'm also going to bring in the Batman in a moment, who also is sporting an oxygen mask, but not to get ahead of ourselves. Taking the tape measure, the boy wonder in this case stands 5¼ inches in height, or the figure's going to be only about 13½ centimeters tall. Sticking with samesies, here's what Bats looks like with a breather. This was the earlier looked at Batman, who also, like Robin, is wearing a mask on the front of his face. It looks to obviously be the case as well. Like before, I'm going to bring in the Robin that we never really got the chance to look at here on this channel. But like the Batman we looked at before, it looks like in this case they are using the same mold yet again with a brand new retooled head sculpt to, of course, incorporate the breathing mask. You know, when I was looking at both the figures, I thought for a second that they may have actually redesigned a brand new Burt Ward head sculpt because it looked like it was a little bit taller than the Robin that we did get before. And I don't think that's the case at all. What I do think is the case, though, is that this Robin does come included with brand new accessories, or at least brand new accessories for this specific figure. As the earlier looked at Robin, popping these in quickly, came included with these onomatopoeia explosion bubbles. These would simply just, again, clip onto the wrist, and these literally were the ones that came included with Robin before. We had Wham! And we also had Bam! And you can see in both the cases that they are molded in plastic, but colored differently from one another. I like these. But as I did say in the review of the Batman, I'm glad to see that we're including some Bat gadgets. The Bat gadget in this case, he does come with two. Unfortunately, though, with Robin, he only has one gripping hand. So you have to kind of take turns swapping out one accessory to the other, as he doesn't have the means to store both. What you could also do technically is, of course, even though that Batman came already with the Bazooka, he already seems quite heavily fitted when it comes to accessories. You could really use any one of these then and display with the Cape Crusader instead. Robin comes included with, say, for example, a Batarang. I love the look of these Batarangs. The classic look molded here in blue plastic. It's a really nice dark blue also that they used as well. There is a section technically to feed a tiny string through. Either the Batarangs have been used already with strings already attached, or they have already given you a little pet project on the side that you could find yourself a tiny little string, feed it through the loop, and you've got yourself a Batarang with line in tow. Now, this again does fit into Robin's hands, though the hands, when putting them into them, he has a harder time to hold. I noticed the Batarang. The Batarang, if you actually push it further down than maybe what you want to push it, he actually holds it well in between his thumb and his little side fingers there. The pointer finger really only just kind of rests against the Batarang, but it may survive, though, the blizzard test, tipping it upside down. If you have it a little higher up, like I really wanted it to have it displayed, it sits too floppy. You can kind of take like this little ledge right here, and if you get that underneath his thumb, that's one way of also holding it a little bit tighter also as well. Will it survive the blizzard test? It survives the blizzard test. Some of you may not even know what I'm talking about when it comes to blizzard tests. Blizzard, by the way, from Dairy Queen, one of the earlier things. I know I'm already said that sorry a couple of times already in earlier reviews. But essentially, they would make like a blizzard. You fill it with soft serve ice cream. Add whatever toppings you may have wanted. And then just to show you the thickness of the ice cream, they would then do the blizzard test of tipping it over top of some poor child's head. And I'm sure it worked 100 times, maybe 99 out of the 100 times. But then there was probably that one time a kid was celebrating his birthday, maybe came into the establishment, the restaurant. Dairy Queen, I don't know if I would consider a restaurant. I know I'm going way off course here. And there probably was that one time he was over there with his friends. The person behind the counter tipped the ice cream, and it maybe was just melted a little too much that day, and it just dumped all over Jimmy's head. And he was laughed at by the kids, and he was called Jimmy Ice Cream Head for the rest of his life. Since then, they don't seem to be doing the blizzard tests anymore over top of any kid's head, but rather instead they just do it behind the counter, and they go like this quickly. Man, I went off course. Anyways, the whole point was that if you can actually tip this upside down, I always call it the blizzard test. Anyways, the figure also comes included with a Bat communicator. And again, he only has the means to hold one at a time, so you kind of have to choose for yourself. I'm sure at some point we have gotten these before, whether it maybe came included with the Batcave set, which we actually, now that I think about it, haven't had the chance to have a look at here on this channel yet. But yeah, it's a cool little bat communicator that you can either have displayed with this Robin, or if you really wanted to, considering that Batman does have 2 gripping hands after all, you probably could then use one of the accessories. If he isn't going to be wielding a Bazooka, mind you, you could then just take like the bat communicator and put it in his hand as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with these extra accessories. Either way though, I mean, he only has, like I said, 1 gripping hand. The other hand is actually just closed shut. So short of actually just punching around people, he only really, again, has 1 gripping hand. Okay, I know we talked to death about that. Let's bring in the other earlier looked at Robin. I don't even want to say earlier looked at because we only used this Robin before for a comparison when we looked at the Batman with breathing mask. Yeah, you know, again, like looking at it, I would want to say that it's the exact same head sculpt. It looks almost like the face is a little longer, and maybe that was the thing that was throwing me off. It's probably the fact that he just has the breathing mask on the front of it, but does it not look as if his face is a little longer than this one right here? You guys can be the judge and let me know down below in the comment section. I'm sure it would simply have been the case that they would have taken, say, this head and then only just probably either retooled it, remolded it to have the breathing mask on the front of it, or they may have even just literally molded the mask that would have also been, you know what, like for example, let's just bring in the Batman here for a second. Batman's obviously would have had the point for his cowl covering over top of it, so I don't know if they would have been able to use the same mold from that standpoint. Maybe it is just a case that they've taken a mask and they just wedged it over top of Burt Ward's face. I mean, it has wiggle to it, but not to the point where I feel like comfortable enough to start yanking this off of his face. Because the sight I'm sure I'd see underneath would leave scars in my mental state. You can see like he does have the breathing mask here in the front. I like the little touch of detail that they added down below there as well. Little tiny tubes that of course connect up to the top tank. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, again, if you didn't get the chance to get this, say, Robin before, you probably will want to be looking more so to just get a regular Robin. But I'm glad to see that they are finding some mileage out of their molds to find the means to add extra things to jazz up the figures. We are getting black and white. We already have gotten black and white versions of the characters also as well. It's a nice way to kind of use, again, the same molds and just find different creative ways to display the figures. Speaking of displaying, though, one thing I can't help but notice is looking at the tunic that Robin wears. It is a little more orangey than perhaps the more reddish color that he has in the series. Other than that, though, it looks like he's pretty close to the way he looks in the classic show. The cape on the back is a softer material. This Robin does seem, at least, and again, it could only be my eyes playing tricks on me, doesn't it almost look like this cape is a little more of a yellow than the lighter cape that we got before? The legs are going to be exactly the same. The boots, again, look like they're just a little bit of a darker color. So they have maybe improved, brightened up some of the colors, but I still feel like the colors in the series, he probably would have been a little bit more reddish than the orangish color that we get right here instead. Has a nice coloring that they've added, the stitching there on the front of his tunic, painted nicely in the individual stripes of yellow. And these are actually raised. These are lifted from his suit. They haven't just simply just whoosh, 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 whoosh. You get the idea. They wouldn't have just done that. They actually did sculpt that, so that's a nice touch to see. The R also here on the top of his outfit here also is nicely painted. No real paint problems at all on this figure. Little belt buckle there on the front, handled nicely in gold. Yeah, I don't really have any issues with the paint at all. May not be not everyone's thing that they're going to be picking up. I mean, not everyone's cup of tea is going to maybe get Robin that has a breathing mask. But I got to again say, like, if you're going to get it something out of the mold other than just finding, because Robin's not going to be like, there's not going to be a battle damage Robin, for example, that's going to have blood all over his face. If they're going to find a way, a creative way, a clever way to use the mold again, one of the things include like a breathing mask. I think that's smart. We would have had it also in the series. Smart for them to also use the mold by using that as well. Okay, so for the articulation for Robin, starting first with his head, it is on a ball joint, so it does allow the head to rotate all the way around. You, again, can have the head looking up and looking down. He actually gets, to his credit, a little bit more mileage than what Batman got before. You can also rock his head also back and forth only a slight bit, but most of it is just allowing the head to rotate all the way around. For the shoulders come out beyond, I would say, the point of 90 degrees. You can also take, of course, those arms, rotate them all the way around. The figure has just a single hinge only in the elbow, but at least it allows the forearm to rotate back and forth. Robin, and this is all kind of new because we haven't looked at this Robin, the other Robin before, so all the articulation that we're looking at in this Boy Wonder is the first time on this channel. The gloves rotate all the way around, so those are separate. The wrist also rotates separately as well. So he really does have, like, strange that he would have a hinge joint here, technically a swivel joint here, whether you chalk it up to the way it was assembled in the factory or not, and he has swivel points here. 1, 2, and 3, and yet they couldn't have given him splits on the legs. It's the one thing that I really wish this line could have had, actual hinges on the legs. By the way, though, he has just a mild swivel on his waist, very, very little, not even to the point where I really even should have mentioned it. Legs don't split out once again, but you can take at least the legs for Robin, hinge them forward, hinge them back to about there. The figure does have a single hinge in the knee, but at least it allows the lower leg to rotate back and forth. And the figure does also have articulation in the boots. Not to the point where you actually can hinge the feet up and down, but at least you can rotate his little elf shoes back and forth. So there's that. Yeah, again, nice looking Robin. I may have even mentioned this when we looked at the review of Batman, but sorry again if I'm going to be reiterating this. I think casual collectors may likely only be passing on this guy in favor of just getting a straight out Robin. I don't know if everyone's going to be dedicated to getting every single incarnation of Robins that they are releasing. Same can be said also for Batman, which I very quietly, subtly slipped in there. But yeah, I do like the look of these Batman and Robin figures. I mean, I think the changes aren't as apparent when it comes to the Boy Wonder as there may have been for the Batman. Yeah, Batman would have used the same mold as before, but the coloring of his cowl was the thing that really did make this guy stand out above and beyond the fact he also had the oxygen mask on the front of his face. Robin is only just different by the fact he does have the oxygen mask, other than, again, also the fact that instead of having the little onomatopoeia explosions, he instead came included with bat accessories. Strange that he doesn't have the means to hold up both of the accessories, but hey, why not? You can share it around. So if Batman doesn't decide to be carrying around a Bazooka, that's a little excessive, even for battling the likes of the Joker. You can instead maybe give him maybe give him like the Batarang, and maybe give the bat walkie-talkies or bat communicators to Robin. Robin of the two always seemed to be getting in the most trouble. I think when it comes to displaying the figure, might maybe display this Robin with the bat communicator, and I might maybe just have the one that has the breathing mask. Maybe I might even just display him with the Batarang. I don't know. Leave it with me. But glad to see that we are getting, again, a little bit more mileage out of this mold. Whether, again, that mileage really is only just a breathing mask on the front of his face, it's at least different and enough, I feel, to warrant the pickup a second time around. Now, I would say when it comes to Robin with his oxygen mask and Batman with his breathing apparatus, I think with both of the cases, you're not probably going to be picking up these figures with the intent of being the sole Batman and sole Robin on your shelf. Likely, if you're picking these figures up, you probably already have the original Batman, you already have the original Boy Wonder, and these are simply just ones that you're adding onto your collection. I don't think in that case, people now going in and trying to track down all these classic Batman figures will then want this to be their definitive Robin, or their go-to Robin, the same way that they wouldn't want the breathing mask Batman to be like their go-to Batman. But I'm glad to still see that we got things like this released from the folks over at McFarlane Toys. As I always say, like, if a company can get the most mileage out of a mold, why not? Why not release a Batman and a Robin? It's not just a case where they color the suits slightly different. It's not a case like the black and white versions as well that are just completely void of all the color altogether. You're at least getting something retooled on the figure's face, the breathing mask. And because, of course, we've seen episodes that have Batman and Robin with breathing masks, I think it's not just a case where they've reinvented. They came up with a reason, like, let's just give Batman and Robin some random thing as a reason to then release a figure that has that on him. So I'm glad to see that they are releasing and still expanding figures. We can't always just get villains, although I'm all for the idea of them releasing more Batman villains, because there's still a lot of territory to cover. But if they can find other clever ways to release the original Cape Crusader and the original Robin, just a little bit different than the ones we got before, again, I welcome it. What do you guys think of oxygen mask wearing Robin? Is this a figure you could see yourselves getting? And have you already been collecting the Batman Classic Series figures? Let me know down below in the comments section. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide this sample of the Batman Classic Series Robin with oxygen mask. We can have a look at this review. This wave also, I think, is the one that has the Batgirl in it. And thanks to, again, the folks over at McFarlane Toys for providing them, we will be looking at the Batgirl in an upcoming video. Of course, to make sure that you're not missing out on anything that's happening here on this channel, if you, first of all, like this video, throw it a like. But if you guys are loving the content, you don't want to miss out on anything that's popping up in the future, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you, of course, haven't already done so, turn on the bell notification so you're going to get reminders from YouTube every single time the guy behind the camera is posting something new. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.